What's up, Internet? It's your new friend Scrubjack Zero, the shonen hero out here on a quest to be the best. Except instead of hero, I'm an aspiring content creator. And instead of the best, I push towards being functional. But in every other way, it's basically the same. This is my intro to Dungeons and Dragons, and maybe yours, part 2. So, welcome back. If you haven't seen part 1, you should watch that first. Lots of backstory there. Good stuff. To give a brief recap, our young heroes Edward the Rogue and Kime the Ranger set out from humble beginnings on a farm towards the nearest town seeking adventure. In their last battle, Ed accidentally killed his best friend, drug his body to town, and begged the priest to revive him. Freshly beaten, revived, weaponless, and penniless, our heroes began their new quest. Make money so they don't starve and die again. Where do we start? Well, I'll tell you where. Young Edward fancied himself somewhat of a thief, and this was his time to shine. Ed began to survey his surroundings for people who looked of wealth. To his surprise, nearly everyone else in the village were poor as well. Granted, not as poor as they, but still yet, the well of crime was dry for now. With no other option, Kime and Ed began their adventure as day laborers. The two youths took any odd job they could find around the village. Before they knew it, they had been washing dishes and shoveling stables for a few months. They paid back their debt to the church and were now just saving up enough to buy new adventuring gear. This adventure hadn't quite gone like my friend and I thought our first D&D quest would. We had faced nearly constant adversity and were nothing like the epic heroes we thought would be. Despite this, things were finally looking up for Ed and Kime. Things were finally turning around, or so we thought. One fateful evening, while working our usual dish boy job at the local tavern, we were taking a load of silverware out back to wash. It was a night just like any other. We were both shooting the breeze and laughing. We were in good spirits. As we entered the alley behind the tavern, just like we had 100 times, this time something was different. There was a young woman running from a man in strange robes. The woman didn't realize that the alleyway she entered was a dead end, the same alley we were in. The woman with bright red hair showing from under her hood told the man to stay back. He continued to approach her. Ed and Kime couldn't stand by and let that happen. Ed called out, "Hey, stop right there!" The man looked over at the two boys, raised his hand, opened his palm, and a small ball of fire burst to life, hovering above his hand. "Or what?" the man responded. The man saw shock in Ed and Kime's eyes. The two boys had never seen magic before. He stood there, confidently, magical flame in hand. There was a tense moment of silence. At the table, our dungeon master asked, "So, what do you do?" Ed did the only thing he could think of, grabbing a utensil from the bucket of silverware he was carrying. He dropped the bucket, throwing utensils all over the ground, and charged straight for the strange magic man. Edward lunged. I made my attack roll and rolled just high enough to hit. And this, kids, is how a level 1 rogue stabbed a level 10 wizard with a fork. At this point, it's worth pausing, because this is a story that follows me, Ed's player, to this day. Friends of friends, people who weren't even there to this day will bring it up at the table, a moment so bizarre that it becomes a player's craziest feat. A perfect moment of pure randomness where a powerful wizard was taken by surprise by two fledgling adventurers who would normally stand no chance against him at all. A look of shock overtook the wizard's face, as if to ask, did that just happen? Indeed it had, as the fork was buried to the handle on the top of his shoulder, with Ed still hanging on to it. In that moment, Kime had scooped a knife off the ground and was right behind Ed, about to pounce on the wizard as well. This is when the wizard regained his composure and let loose his spell, Burning Hands. He put his hands out in front of him, thumbs touching, and a cone-shaped wave of fire burst forward, engulfing both Ed and Kime, dropping them to the ground like flies. The woman watched all this happen and knew that this was her only chance to escape. She was also a magic user, and a particularly gifted one at that. She cast a simple light spell. Not normally an offensive spell, the young woman cast light directly on the wizard's face while he was distracted, temporarily blinding him, giving her the chance she needed to escape. The woman ran, the wizard cursed and fumbled to dispel the light, but it was all too late as his target had escaped. He quickly hurried off to pursue her. Ed and Kime were left on the ground in that alley, badly burned and unconscious in a pile of silverware, but alive. It was the closest thing they'd had to a win so far, but they would take it. Ed and Kime awoke in the church the next day, fully healed. The young woman from the night before was there alongside the priest that had revived Kime before. She had actually come to the village to meet the priest. Her name was Drea, and she was a very special girl gifted with incredible magical power, unlike anything the world had ever seen. Because of her power, dangerous people sought to capture and control her for their own means. She had dealt with this all her life and found good people willing to help protect her, like the priest. The priest had healed Ed and Kime in exchange for helping Drea escape yesterday. The priest, being as wise as he was, knew the call to adventure when he saw it, and he definitely saw it in our two young heroes. With that, Ed and Kime finally got their first quest. The mission was to go with Drea while she traveled to meet a friend of the priest, a wise old sage who was offering asylum and mentorship for Drea. Drea is powerful, but she is also young and inexperienced, much like Ed and Kime. Knowing the dangers of this world firsthand and eager to see their group grow, they happily accepted the quest. The next day, after resting and buying new weapons, a dagger for Ed and 2 short swords for Kime, the three embarked on their journey. After all their troubles, once again, things seemed like they were finally back on track. Outside the town, Ed, Kime, and Drea were confronted by the band of orcs that once bested them. But this time, wiser and more cautious, our group actually won. And they helped the village and nearby farmland by defeating the orcs and their Orog leader. The three traveled for many days and nights, following the priest's instructions. Drea didn't talk much at first. She was soft-spoken, but gradually opened up to Ed and Kime. The duo became a trio, and they were all fast friends. Eventually, Drea told the boys about her past and the bad people after her. They were a group of mages from a city known as
Xavier Key,
a dark and dangerous place, both lawful and sinister. Drea said that they are always one step behind her, and Xavier Keep is a place that should be avoided at all costs. The trio kept a strong pace to challenge pursuers, but also fought monsters and bandits and helped people along the way. They would travel by day and camp at night, each taking shifts watching over the camp while the others slept. Soon they would reach their destination, the Sage's Tower. They had finally become real adventurers. This is where I'm gonna leave part 2. Things sure are picking up, huh? Just a heads up, episode 3 is the finale to this tale, so be sure not to miss it. Things go pretty wild next time, and I can't wait to finish this saga. Alright, here we are. Part 2 is in the books, baby. I've been Scrubjack Zero. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.